Good evening, everyone. We're going to give people a few more minutes to join the meeting and we'll be starting shortly. Hi, good evening. Good evening, everyone. We'll go ahead and get started with tonight's community meeting. So thank you everyone for joining us tonight at this virtual community meeting. This is a new format for the Planning Department Division, and we're happy to see all of you in this space as we continue to review projects and seek public input while working remotely during the shelter-in-place order. So to go ahead and get started, I'd like to introduce who we have here on behalf of the city staff. So I'll go ahead and get started. So we have John Tu, supervising planner. We have, let's see, Tai Chao Lee, environmental supervising planner. We have Rosalind Huey, director of planning, building and code enforcement. We have Christy Chung on behalf of Public Works. We have Manji also on behalf of Public Works, as well as Alex Wong. We have Bethlehem on behalf of Environmental. We have, let's see, Councilmember Arenas, and also on behalf of our office, we have Patrick McGarity and Nancy Lee. And go ahead and on to, and we also have Joel Devilcourt on behalf of the mayor's office attending tonight. And on the applicant side, we have Andrew Mann Architecture. From Andrew Mann Architecture, we have Andrew Mann, Amelia Stacy, and we have from Siegel and Strain Architects, Susie and Seth. From Canyon Snow for Public Relations, we have Jennifer Johnson, Leslie, and Kathy. And we have David Blackwell from Alan Matkins, land use attorney. We have from the Temple Foundation, we have Lina and Chris. From Strata Landscape Architecture, we have Todd and Cole. From Antonio Martin's Interior Land Design, we have Antonio Martins. And from Hexagon Transportation Consultants, we have Brian Jackson. And then we also have our Assistant Director, Robert Manford, who joined us as well. So with that, I'll go ahead and pass this over. If anybody on the applicant side, if anybody on the applicant side city side would like to provide any introduction. So Councilmember Arenas, if you would like to say a few words to introduce our meeting before we get started.
Thank you so much, and good evening, everyone. A special recognition to our planning department who did all the really heavy lifting to put this meeting together, and especially our directors who are here today, Rosalind, Robert, as well as Jason and Michelle, who I believe has been working very closely with all of our community. And I apologize if I missed anybody, but please let me know, because I want to give credit where credit is due. One of the reasons that tonight is really important to me is that we've been talking about this project. I feel like first of all, COVID has just really warped time for me, and so it feels like a year, but I don't think it's quite a year. But we've been talking about this project for a while, and I think we have a lot of folks who are invested in their community and have come today to listen to what the applicant is proposing, to provide their feedback about what they would like to see in their own neighborhoods, and especially so importantly now that we are all sheltered in place and we're spending quite a bit more time at home than we normally would. We want to be good neighbors, right? And so I understand that it's very loud and clear, but I also want to be very clear that this is actually our first official city-sponsored meeting. Any meetings that happened previous to today have not been an official, and that, you know, maybe my team or Rosalind and Robert's team attended, they were in no way in an official capacity. And so we've been here just to support and guide the community. And I believe the applicant has gone out to our community because they know how important this particular item is with our neighbors. And so one of the things I just wanted to start off the meeting with is to let you all know that I have proposed a letter and submitted posted a letter, excuse me, with the concerns that I have shared with you previous. And I've discussed it with the applicant. They seem to have really good responses. You know, I'm not going to hold them to what they told me. I want them to also share that with you tonight. I think you'll see that the applicant is working really hard to get to a place where this works for everyone, and we wouldn't expect anything less. We want them to make sure that what they're developing makes sense for your neighborhood. You as a neighbor, you live in that particular neighborhood, and so you want to make sure that it works for you, and I want to make sure it works for you. And definitely our planning department will also do that. And so I want us to be able to, at the end of this conversation, be clear about your concerns tonight, give the feedback to the applicant so that they can revise their proposal and ultimately earn your support. This is really the ultimate goal of this meeting tonight, but it isn't without a lot of questions and a lot of process beforehand. And so I encourage you to ask all the questions. You've all been very proactive and given all of the team many questions. I know our team has met with you a number of times, and I'm going to recognize our Chief of Staff here, Patrick McGarity, and our Deputy Chief of Staff, Nancy Lay, and of course, our team member, Victoria Lam, which has been point on this project as well. And so when you connect with any one of them, I know that they can reflect where I stand around development. We're not a district that is full of development. We actually have a development policy that really restricts growth. And so any development that happens in our backyard, we want to make sure that it is in accordance with the look and feel and the spirit of our neighborhood. And so I'm your representative here to make sure that the meeting goes well and that your voices are heard. Although I don't know that you need me for this, because your voices are always very much heard here at City Hall and certainly in our district. I just admire the way that our community stands up for itself and steps forward to acknowledge and recognize when things aren't going well and when things are going well. And so one of the things that's going well tonight is going to be this meeting. And so it's with just pure delight to move forward with this meeting and hand it back to our planning department. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming, and let's make sure we keep our questions and our minds open, and let's hold this applicant to accountable for all of the questions and concerns that we all have. Thank you.
Thank you. And so before we get started, I wanted to go over some general housekeeping guidelines. So you will all be placed on mute until we open up the meeting for public comments. If you are joining us by phone and you wish to speak, you will be prompted to press *9 once we open up the meeting for public comments. If you're joining us by electronic device and you would like to speak, you will press the raise hand feature that's located at the bottom of your screen. And a copy of the agenda is available via the link that was provided on the notice. In the link, there is also a copy of the code of conduct, which will be enforced tonight. So please keep that in mind. And I also would like to remind everyone this is a community meeting. This is not a public hearing, therefore no decision to approve or deny the project will take place today. The project will eventually be heard at a hearing. It will be heard at Planning Commission with a recommendation going to City Council, and that will be done at a later date. And then finally, we ask you that you be patient with us as we're still new to virtual community meetings, so there may be some bumps in the road. I would also like to say, like Councilmember Arena said, this is the first official community meeting of the project. I know that there were previous ones that were done, but this is the first one since the formal application has been submitted. And this community meeting is part of the project's outreach per the city council outreach policy. And so the meeting that we are here for tonight is for a rezoning from the R15 single family residence zoning district to the public quasi-public zoning district, and a special use permit to allow approximately 17,749 square feet for a private gathering facility on an approximately 1.86 gross acre site. On January 7th of this year, the applicant submitted a conditional use permit. On February 24th, the applicant submitted a variance application for a development exception to allow the roof heights and the spire to exceed 35 feet. On July 15th, the applicant submitted a rezoning from the R15 single family residence zoning district to the public quasi zoning district. And then with that submission, the conditional use permit was converted to a special use permit as part of that application. The rezoning application and the special use permit are under review. Initial comments were sent to the applicant in March for the conditional use permit. We are still waiting on a resubmittal from the applicant with a revised plan set since the conversion of the application to the special use permit. Environmental and traffic are currently under review. Those drafts have not been finalized. And also as part of the project description, the square footage does not include the underground garage that is also included as part of the project. So wanted to mention that as well. And so I will go ahead and pass this on to the environmental planner so she can provide an update for the environmental portion of the project.
Thank you, Michelle. Good evening, everyone. My name is Tai Chao Lee. And again, thank you for joining us here today. I know there's a lot of things going on, but we're very happy that you can join us, and we're here to hear your concerns. Again, my name is Tai Chao Lee, and I am the supervising environmental planner who will be overseeing the environmental review portion of this project. So what does environmental review even mean? So according to the California Environmental Quality Act, or CEQA for short, it is a state law that requires state and local agencies to identify the potential environmental impacts of their actions of a project and to mitigate those impacts if feasible. So the purpose of CEQA overall is to evaluate and disclose a project environmental impact to you all and to the decision maker before a decision can be made. And also to identify ways to reduce those potential impacts to the environment through mitigation measure, project design, or project condition. So this project is going to complete what we call an initial study. As part of this initial study, we are analyzing resources such as air quality, biological resources, noise, transportation, and also geology and soil. Based on some of the comments that I've already received from you all and from other your neighbors, I just want to reaffirm that yes, we will be looking at noise. There will be a noise report that will explore how the operation and construction of this project could impact the surrounding and how, if it would or would not exceed the city standards and thresholds, and that's based on our general plan. Furthermore, the transportation analysis is part of the scope for the environmental review, and it will evaluate trip generation of the proposed project. Also, I understand there are some concern about stability, geo and soil, so that will all be part of the environmental analysis. And we also have our representative from the Public Works Department, the transportation team specifically here today as well, to hear your concerns and questions about traffic, and if time permits, to answer what we can and what we know at this point. So again, our purpose here today is to further give the community another platform to inform both the applicant and city staff on neighborhood concerns, or to make general comments about the project overall. I will be taking notes of the environmental related concerns and comments. We may not have all the answer for you today, but we will try our best to address what we know so far. In addition, my contact information is on the webpage and the agenda posted on the same webpage in case you want to reach out to me directly for any additional questions or comments. And with that, I'll pass it back to Michelle.
Thank you. So at this point, we'll go ahead and move to the applicant's presentation, and we'll go ahead and share their presentation on the screen. Okay, so Chris, Andrew, Jennifer, and Leslie, you have been unmuted, so you can go ahead and begin with your presentation.
Very much, Michelle. This is Jennifer Johnson speaking. Very pleased to be with you. I just wanted to give you a quick overview of our remarks here before we get going. We'd like to take a few minutes with Chris and Lena's help to introduce you to the Khmer Krom community. We'd like to share an overview of the project led by Andrew Mann and Susie Marzuola. Michelle, it's possible Susie's microphone would need to be unmuted as well, please. And then reflect back to you a little bit about the community feedback, of course, that we have been hearing so far and working on. So love to hand it off to Chris and Lena at this point. And ask that the slide be advanced, possible.
Yes, and Chris, you are able to go and mute yourself. So you can go ahead and unmute yourself to get started.
Chris, we see that you are still muted.
Can you unmute Lena Lamb?
Don't see her on the list. She's going by a different name on Zoom.
Yeah, can you hear us now?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and start then. I apologize for the technology glitch there. First of all, I wanted to thank the planning department. We wanted to thank Council Member Arenas, and we also wanted to thank the community for participating in this today. We're honored to submit this proposal to build a Khmer Krom Buddhist temple here in San Jose. Now I know we don't have a lot of time to present, so I'm going to turn this right over to Lena Lamb. Lena is the executive director of the foundation that would be building the project if it was approved. I'm going to turn it over to her now.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. So this temple represents a long-term dream of our community, which has been among the poorest of any refugee group. Like many in our community, my family fled Vietnam by crossing into Cambodia after the fall of Khmer Rouge. It was a dangerous trip, but we eventually made it and lived in several refugee camps for nearly 3 years. Eventually, we were sponsored to come to San Jose in '83. This was a common experience for our community. So the community has established deep roots in San Jose over the past several decades. Because Buddhism is not just a religion, but a central pillar of everyday life, temples are the center of the community. Given the poverty of the refugees here, early temples are often nothing more than a single family homes that's lack of monk residence and any sense of community pride. Since coming to San Jose, my family have been fortunate, and now we are in position to build a proper temple for the community. We hope you accept our plans, and we're here to listen to suggestions to make this a pride of the community and the community as well. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to our design team who can discuss our project. Thank you.
Thank you, Lena. This is Susie Marzola. If you could advance the slide, please. Thanks. And first, I'd like to also thank Councilmember Arenas and the city planners and the community for inviting us here tonight. Many of you have seen these plans before, so our presentation will be brief and kind of an overview again of what many of you already know. I'm Susie Marzola. I'm with Siegel and Strain Architects. We are working closely with Andrew Mann Associates. Andrew will also be participating in the project overview and presentation. This image on your screen is an aerial view of the Evergreen neighborhood, showing the proposed temple right in the middle and in the context of the neighborhood. In fact, the temple perhaps is a little bit difficult to distinguish in this view, and that is by design. Like the surrounding houses, the temple buildings are sited in a garden setting. They're planted with ornamental plantings and upwards of 80 trees on this 1.5 acre or 1.86 acre property. The temple functions, as Lena mentioned, as a heart to this community. And as such, it's organized into a collection of buildings that are articulated with gabled roofs, and they're sized and shaped to blend into the surrounding roofscape and the massing of this neighborhood. The primary structure is the temple building itself. It is on the corner, set back from both Ruby and Norwood, with the surrounding temple structures wrapping around it to the south on Ruby, to the east and north, and which are on to the north, which is on the left of this image, to the left of this image. Next slide, please. As Lena stated, the vision for this temple is to provide San Jose's Cambodian Khmer Krom community with a spiritual and cultural home. A home where the members can freely practice their religion, where they can gather as a community and together preserve their culture for future generations. It's also a place where all the functions of their Buddhist practice are integrated and accommodated on a single site, which is not uncommon for churches and mosques and synagogues here in Evergreen neighborhood and throughout San Jose, California, and the US for that matter. The religious functional needs of this community, the Khmer Krom community, are similar to those of many other religious organizations. The proposed temple, as mentioned, is in the middle on the corner of Norwood and Ruby. And it includes a place to worship and to meditate. There's also a place to learn, which is the classrooms that are to the south of the temple along Ruby. There's a place to manage the organization, which is the administration, the governance of the temple. There is a community hall, which is a place to gather and socialize, which is very similar to social halls at other types of religious centers and places of worship. There is, in this case, a place for the community's spiritual leadership to live in amongst residents here along the north edge of the property. And there's a variety of outdoor spaces, places to be outside, in a garden, in the shade, on a bench, under a tree, next to a fountain. And these are around the property in spaces in between the buildings and in the setbacks between the buildings and the streets. With that, I'll turn it over to Andrew, who will walk us through the uses and the activities that are proposed. Next slide.
Thank you, Susie. First, I also want to thank Councilmember Arenas for being here and helping with our community outreach, and to also thank the planning department for facilitating and organizing this. And I also want to start, before I talk about the temple activities, to just mention how those of us on the design team this project is very heartfelt. And that when Lena called me to ask with the design of this project, it comes so much from her heart, and we from the design community bring that same heartfeltness to the work that we do here in terms of making a very special place, both for Evergreen and for the Khmer Kram community. So following up on what Susie said, it's really important to understand how the temple is occupied daily, weekly, and for special events. As noted in the detailed activities schedule in our application, the majority of the time, the small number of community members present are involved in study, meditation, and prayer at a maximum of 20 to 25 people during the weekdays. The soul of the community is the residents of monks who live there full time. On a daily basis, elders come to provide food for the residents and gather for spiritual guidance. Prayer occurs in the mornings, learning takes place throughout the day and early evening. On the weekends, more members of the community attend morning meditation, and lectures might attract up to 70 people. Education and community enrichment activities occur throughout the day. So really, it's the majority of the time, it is a small member of the larger community. But like all religious communities, larger events occur at the major holidays and for larger celebrations. As noted in the traffic study, occupancy is capped at 300 people per event. The spaces are not intended to be used concurrently. Next slide, please. As the cultural soul of the community, this drawing shows the garden level floor plan. And really key points that I want to make on the slide are about that activity. The temple has been designed to minimize the impact on neighbors and the street by having all activity occur in the buildings or courtyards that are shielded from view. So it is the interior spaces that are really the active spaces, and it is shielded from the neighbors' backyards on oak and sweetleaf, and contained from Norwood and Ruby. And the daily activity will involve mostly between the monks' residence, the temple, and the administrative offices. Weekly activity will also include classrooms and the community space. And those would be the things that happen on the weekends. Special events are the times that either the temple or the community hall will be occupied to their maximum use by the entire community, like other religious organizations. Next slide, please. And here on the garage level plan, the garage level is intended to solve entry, parking, and traffic issues for the neighborhood. The space is designed such that the major point of drop off is at this lower level, so that it is not cars stacking up on Norwood or Ruby. That is really a way of traffic. Any cars that are coming to drop off an elder, bringing food for the monks, or coming to worship or meditate, it all happens down here. They will be dropped off at the lobby, and then people will enter the upper level by going through the courtyard that is surrounded by the classrooms and the teaching. The parking garage accommodates 91 vehicles. Now I'd like to pass the digital baton off to Leslie and Jennifer to continue. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. This is Jennifer Johnson again. I just want to wrap up our part of the presentation by saying, as been said earlier this evening, that many of you know this is not our first meeting with the neighbors. It's not our first opportunity to come together, but it is the first one that is officially kind of sanctioned and run by the city. So we appreciate this very much. And we wanted to let you know that we have been listening. We want to reflect back to you some of the key concerns and what we perceive to be your top level concerns. And we know that we may hear more about these tonight. We hope that we will have a chance for that additional dialogue and to hear other concerns that you have as well. But from a parking standpoint, we want to reiterate that we share the goal of avoiding overflow into the neighborhood. And we understand that many neighbors are opposed to the underground garage. We know that those concerns stem from construction, ingress and egress type problems. But we know from our conversations with you that there are some trade-offs to surface parking if we were to bring the parking above ground. So we look forward to additional dialogue there. Traffic management, of course, very important as well. And as you know, especially from Tai Chao Lee's comments earlier, this is a central area for study that we will be looking at. We understand that size and scale and compatibility are important to this neighborhood, and we agree. And we hope to have the opportunity here to, as Susie and Andrew have done, explaining some of the functions for the temple and its components, and talk with you about that. But ultimately, to let you all know that our goal is to incorporate this feedback into additional design updates that our team will be working on. So we are here for serious conversation, and we are indeed listening very carefully to your concerns. So thank you again for making the time for this project, for sharing your time and your ideas with us. And thank you to the planning and department and to Councilmember Arenas and your colleagues for facilitating these conversations.
Thank you. And now we will be moving on to the open forum portion to listen to questions and comments. So as I mentioned earlier, if you are calling us via phone, you will press *9 to unmute yourself, to raise your hand. And if you're joining us by electronic device, you will be using the raise hand feature located at the bottom of the screen. So in order to try to hear as many comments as we can tonight, each speaker will be limited to 2 minutes each. We also will be listening to groups of 5 comments at a time and then responding to those comments and questions after. So we will be calling out the names of the first group just so you can be prepared to unmute yourself. We will be taking notes throughout your comments and questions. And after this meeting, we will work on summarizing the main concerns of the community, and we will be posting them on the project's webpage. That's on the Projects of High Interest page on the website. So with that, we have a presentation from some of the neighbors who will be using their 2 minutes for that presentation. So for the first group, with the presentation of the slides, we will have Janet Holt, Owen, Murali, and they will be ceding their time for the presentation. And then after that, we'll move on to Michael Gabler and Jerry Ying. So please be prepared to unmute yourself once your name is called. And Janet and Murali, you are now unmuted, so feel free to begin when you are ready.
Okay, thank you, Michelle. Hello, my name is Janet. I'm a neighbor working with community who are concerned with the impact this project will have on our neighborhood. Tonight, we are given an opportunity to look ahead, provide input and feedback to start dialogue and collaboration. We want a plan that works for all parties. This vibrant, diverse community has always said we welcome a religious facility as our neighbor. Because of the small size lot and the residential zoning, we expected a small, modest temple and open spaces. But in 2018, developers surprised neighbors with plans for a large complex. The plan with 57,000 square feet of buildings included an underground parking garage. Though thoughtful feedback was provided by neighbors, the scale and intensity got even bigger. Now there is a new request to rezone PQP, allowing for further intensification. Next slide. Thank you. This site is in a no-growth area. Elements of the design are incompatible with the GP 2040 plan, clearly designating this parcel as residential, saying any new infill development should closely conform to the existing neighborhood in terms of density, form, and pattern. An excerpt from planning to a previous applicant's request to upzone the land to R18, asking for 8 homes versus 6 was denied. In fact, planning advised against R18 rezoning or any other more intense zoning options, as it would not conform to neighborhood pattern. This helps explain why we question the PQP application, since it's a more intense zone designation. We request that planning holds this applicant to the same standard. And Morelli will cover the next few slides. Next slide, please.
Thank you everyone for the opportunity. Okay, looks like there's an echo. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Morale, you are unmuted. Can you try speaking again? Janet, you are still unmuted.
Okay, did you want me to go ahead and start?
Yes.
Until, okay, if Morelli is able to come back on, we'll talk to him. Okay,
Hey, can you
thank
hear
you.
me?
Oh,
Yep.
Go ahead, Morelli.
We're always able to hear you.
I think he's cutting in and out.
Yeah. Okay, so talking on this slide, we're talking about no PQP rezoning, and we'd like to preserve the R1-5 single family residential neighborhood character because the PQP allows for more intensive uses, higher noise levels, and lower setbacks, as well as higher taller heights. So under PQP, the site could actually be repurposed for a lot more intensive projects. Mitigating that, we think that the CUP would allow the religious assembly to revert back to, and if we were to revert back to the CUP application and just request necessary variances. Okay, next slide. Thank you. Okay, so the underground parking has been a very large concern of the neighborhoods, and we would like to see, instead of the underground, which we think is going to cause a tremendous amount of disruption while it's being built, we would like to see perimeter parking around the site. And we have talked about that since 2018. We never had we never said we wanted to go for the underground parking, but the extremely intense excavation, along with about 4,000 truckloads of excavated dirt, noise, vibration, and dust, all the dewatering, whatever may have to go into terms of tiebacks will be very disruptive for the neighborhood. The mitigation, of course, is the buildings and parking at street level that are compatible with the neighborhood. Next slide. If you could advance the slide. Okay, got it. We believe that, oh, go forward one. Thank you. The capacity of the temple, at least as far as what we can see in terms of the 42,000 square foot temple and the 5,000 square foot community hall, all combined could hold upwards of 600 people at one time. We realize that you're saying this won't be concurrent, but that's questionable. So we'd like to mitigate that by reducing to less than or around 300 net capacity. And if you take a look at Grace Church, which is on the corner of Aborn, and it's across from the library, you'll see that that is similar to what we were thinking might go in at this spot. They've got parking around for about 84 units and plenty of space. So the Monk's residence should be compatible to an R1. We don't see any reason that that should be an issue, and that would be a win-win for everyone. Okay, next slide. Okay, so also conducive to large gatherings that we're pretty sure are going to happen. We know we've all been around certain situations where everybody's having their festivities and they're wonderful, but they do cause disruption in the neighborhood, and sometimes some adverse things happen. So mitigating that, we would like trees around the property, as well as designated smoking areas and sound walls, and just having the sound kind of be contained within the actual temple and not moving out into the neighborhoods, and have quiet hours if we can as well. Okay, next slide. Yeah, this is a big one for us. We've been out, we have so many walkers, and we were out over the weekend speaking to folks about their different concerns, and the traffic there is just pretty crazy. It's a very busy intersection. There was just another accident about a week and a half ago. It's a safety concern for all of these folks that are walking and cycling and driving. There's schools within a 1 mile radius, and so we have kids coming and going, as well as cars doing pickup. So the mitigation that we are proposing, along with the parking above ground and all, is to have 2 access points, one on Ruby and one on Norwood. That will be able to clear the surface streets much quicker. And then if we were to have possibly strobe lights and street bumps at the exits to ensure safety for pedestrians and cyclists, that would be something that might be very, very helpful. Next slide. Okay, we are seeking a win-win situation here. We really do welcome the Buddhist temple, and we think that they would be wonderful for the culture and surrounding neighborhood, but we would like some thoughtful dialogue with possibly workshops on a smaller scale so that we can all come to a mutual compromise with respectful dialogue. And we thank you very much for your time, folks. That's it.
Okay, next I'm going to call Michael Gabler, Jerry Yang, Michiel, sorry if I'm messing up your name here, and Ravi. Please unmute yourself and speak when I call on you. So first we have Michael. Michael, you are unmuted. Please unmute yourself and begin to speak.
Thank you very much. My name is Michael Gabler. I am the current president of the Norwood Neighborhood Association. The association represents more than 1,200 homes, businesses, churches, and a school that reside in the area adjacent to the proposed temple location at Ruby and Norwood. I've lived in my home for almost 30 years now, so I'm very familiar with the neighbors, the neighborhood, and the local environment. I am here tonight to oppose the proposed rezoning request. I am here tonight to oppose the proposed development as it has been presented. The rezoning request goes against San Jose's General Plan 2040 parcel designation for this site. The proposal to build an acre of underground parking is not in alignment with the character of the neighborhood. The fact that this developer is even proposing an underground parking structure goes to the very nature of how inappropriate this development is in alignment with the surrounding neighborhood. There are many drawings of the proposed development presented, but I have not seen one presented from a street view of Ruby. The developer has presented many nice drawings, but this one's been omitted. Is it perhaps due to the fact that this would show how awkward, out of place, and unintegrated the proposed development would be with the surrounding homes and the surrounded home? The proposed development does not fit the character of the neighborhood. The design, size, and general appearance does not match the aesthetic of the neighborhood. A drive to this site will show, even to the most uninformed person, how the roads leading to this site will not support any level of underground parking, ingress or egress. This development would destroy the neighborhood aesthetic. It would destroy the life of the neighbors only inches away from this gigantic, out-of-place structure. If permitted to be built, this development will have serious negative impacts on the neighbors for the years of the build and then significantly impact their quality of life in the years to follow. Ask yourself, would this be appropriate if it was built right next door to your home? Thank you.
10-second mark. Okay. Thank you. Next, we have Jerry Yang. Jerry, you are unmuted. Please unmute yourself and begin to speak.
Good evening. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. First, I want to thank the city for organizing this meeting for us to get together and have the forum to talk about this project and share our thoughts and concerns. My name is Jerry Yang, and I live on Norwood Street, very close to this proposed project. My family and I have been in the Evergreen area for 9 years. Before I start, I want to say I myself is also an immigrant. I respect the Temple Foundation. I respect their dedication in preserving their tradition and culture. However, I do not support this project. Just want to share, I was working from home about 2 months ago when they were doing the demolition work, they were taking down the barn. It was brutal to deal with all the constant noise 7-8 hours a day. I just cannot imagine if the project goes on at its full scale as submitted today, how much negative impact it will bring to the neighborhood. We, the Evergreen people, we are good people, right? We pay our taxes, we abide rules, we respect each other. We do not deserve the traffic congestion and all the dangers on Norwood Ruby intersection. We deserve better and safer community traffic. We do not deserve the potential hazard from that 90-car underground parking structure. We deserve a safer environment. We do not deserve the crowdness of hundreds of people this temple will bring in. We deserve a quiet neighborhood. We do not deserve a 60 feet tall tower looking down us every day. When I look up, I want to see trees, I want to see greens, I want to see the beautiful Mountain Hamilton, right? We do not deserve 1 year, 2 year, 3 year lengthy construction and noise and dust. We deserve a peaceful life. And I think meeting all the code is one thing, but I encourage all the planning committee to ask yourself one question, just one question. Does it make sense? Does it make sense to have such huge
Sorry about that. Have Mehul, sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name, yourself and begin to speak.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, good evening, folks. My name is Mehul Poladia, and I live on Sweetleaf Court. I have been living in this location for the last 7 years. And in the current form of the proposed form, I do not support this project. And essentially, the points I'm looking in this direction of not supporting are, the conversion of or rezoning to PQP, because this leaves, a lot of things open, lot of things can be, in the future can be expanded, setbacks can be, made less. The way I look at this project is, to stay in the R15 or R1R5 kind of zone, and scale it down. The other thing was that, the underground parking, which is there, the kind of excavation which will go on, the hill is still settling. I still see, cracks coming in my backyard every, a couple of years. So the hill is still settling. And, while that is happening, when you kind of excavate so deep, it raises, a lot of serious concerns regarding the safety. About the traffic, there are 4 schools, which are within, a half a mile to a mile's distance from this 4-way junction. And the kind of traffic this is going to bring to this location is going to be dangerous for those kids who are walking, to and from the school. The construction, which is going to be more than, 2 or 3 years, is going to be another very big headache for me. Right. So I do not support it in its current form, and I would like the developers to take a look at reducing the footprint and making this fit inside the current vision of San Jose 2040. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next I'm going to call Ravi, then Annie Williams, David, Imac, and Shakar. Please be ready to unmute yourself when I call on you. Okay, Ravi, please unmute yourself and begin to speak.
Hi there. So this is Ravi Pathak. I'm probably a few blocks away from this location. I welcome the temple. It's better than having a commercial building there. But my concern is any type of study being done at this time with the COVID. I'm sure you're not going to get a right picture of the traffic, because you're going to get very, very thin traffic right now. But Norwood is very critical for, for many of us who are in this area. I just don't want to make sure, I want to make sure that we are not blocked because of the traffic. That's my biggest concern. Both in Ruby and Norwood are single lane. So that's a big concern for me from the traffic point of view. And hopefully the study will be, accurate, because this is not the right time to do the test or analysis, because we have very, very thin traffic and it's not going to show the right picture. Other than that, I welcome the temple. It's much better to have a peaceful meditative temple nearby that will spread positive energy than a commercial building. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Annie. Annie, you are unmuted. Please unmute yourself.
Hi, my name is Annie Williams and I live on Sweetleaf Court, which is located right behind the property. If the city values its residents, it needs to place the highest value on our feedback and our opinions on this project. You must consider the community's input on this project and make sure we are satisfied for the most part with the plan before giving the developers the green light to move any further. The Larsens can afford to build anywhere they want. However, most of us who live close by cannot afford to move if we are not happy with what is imposed on us as neighbors. Do not let the deep pockets of the Larsens and their political influence blind you to the fact that there are real people who are going to have to endure the consequences of any hasty decisions. This is our home and our daily reality, which could possibly be altered drastically if the city fulfills all the developers' desires. We, the highest stakeholders, the neighbors, are opposed to the project's plan in its current form. Please do not allow an underground parking garage. Please make sure the project is scaled down to a reasonable and suitable size that is proportionate to the small lot. Also, please ensure that our beautiful neighborhood is not further littered with parked cars, plagued with dangerous traffic hazards and burdened with noise pollution. Additionally, we ask that you do not allow PQP rezoning for this small parcel of land. We welcome a temple, but not the ever-growing behemoth that is being proposed by the developer. It just keeps getting bigger and bigger. If the plans remained at the scale shown in the original brochure left at my door with a public playground and walkable grounds, I probably would have no objections. Each time a new plan is shown to us, it gets bigger and bigger. I hope that the property owners can practice the compassion that the Buddha himself taught and practice. The Buddha was simple and relinquished his worldly possessions to seek enlightenment. When redesigning the temple, take lead from the Buddha himself and keep it small and keep it simple. Keeping the peace in this neighborhood will perpetuate peace in your hearts. Thank you.
Next is David. David, please unmute yourself.
Hello, I'm David. Thank you very much for having this meeting. Really appreciate it. I also live on Sweet Leaf Court on the just east of, on the east side of the street. I've been a resident of this property for the past 40 plus years. And of course, the concerns that I have are pretty much what everyone else has. The underground parking seems to be something that really is not available, should not be available in this area. Concerned about the noise, the parking congestion. I can imagine, no matter what they say, but parking will be a major issue. It already is. The intersection of Norwood and Ruby is terrible as it is now. Most people blow through both those stop signs without paying any attention to what's happening. So I can imagine how it would be. I think we'd like to see, if anything, is a scaled down structure. Of course, home values is a big concern to us. Basically, I'm also concerned about the height of the buildings, or going to a smaller structure. I'm also concerned about having functions there, such as weddings, holidays. You know, I think this will all contribute to the noise. When I moved to this setting, it was a small rural community up here, which is why I moved here. I am a native San Josean, as my parents were. So we've been here a long time. And this is where we moved here, and that little bit of country setting is extremely important to us. And again, if you can imagine yourselves and where you live, and then try to picture this gigantic structure going in that little lot, I think you would see that realistically it doesn't make sense. So again, I think that in trying to work it all together, a smaller structure would be good. But anyway, thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Next, we have IMAC. If you could state your name for the record and begin to speak. You are unmuted. Please unmute yourself.
This is when we are just living right across the area. You hear me?
Yes. Sorry, could you say your name again?
When we right across the area, I'm observed so many accidents happened in this area, especially when the time is not COVID. The school traffic already line up for a long time before they can cross. So as the structure proposing right now, I think this suburban area cannot take anything like downtown San Jose. You have underground structure and so on and so forth. I think this is too much for the area, and then I cannot support it. I cannot support it, this project as is, or even if they don't scale down or make it lower than the request that from the neighborhood. I think the planning committee should take a serious look and then rejecting it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Shakar. Shakar, please unmute yourself and begin to speak.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello, my name is Shekhar Krishnan. I live on Northcrest Drive, and I have been a resident here for a little over 20 years. And I have a lot of concerns about the size and scope of this project and how it is incompatible with the character of the neighborhood. Many people before me have touched upon many subjects, including the traffic. As everybody has pointed out, the intersection of Ruby and Norwood is a high accident area, people not paying attention to stop signs, and also because of COVID, the schools are currently online. So any study right now will not give an accurate picture of the school traffic and also the high school kids cross-country team running across the streets for their practice. And it's going to create the underground parking garage, and the traffic associated with the project is going to create an extremely hazardous situation for all the residents and the children living in this neighborhood. A very special concern to me is the 900 square foot kitchen that is being proposed in this project, and it is too large for this neighborhood, and it's almost like a commercial kitchen which can operate like a restaurant in a residential neighborhood. It's going to create the need for a lot of inputs like deliveries and produce a lot of output from its operation. It's completely incompatible in terms of the needs of a catering kitchen, which is what the developer said it was supposed to be used for. It almost suggests that there's going to be, that the religious assembly will attract and host a very large number of events with a lot of people, and also leading to frequent rental of the sites, building for private events, which is the noise and disturbance that are going to be created and the traffic hazard obviously going to be created by such events, again, would be a hazard. So in short, I'm going to propose that this project be actually moved to a site which is more compatible with a project of this magnitude.
Okay, Matthew, you are unmuted. Please unmute and begin to speak.
Hi, thank you. Yes, I also oppose this project. I moved into this neighborhood. I live 1 block away across the street. Moved in here about 15 years ago, particularly because it was away from high traffic congestion areas, down in the lower flat areas, and also because of the nice wide streets that were empty with cars. There's not a lot of cars parked in the neighborhoods. And I don't see this project helping to maintain that type of environment. I believe that trying to host events to 600 people with only 90 parking spots, the math doesn't seem to add up even if you pack a car with 4 people in it. And having a solution for offsite parking, I don't see how that can properly be enforced and how they can prevent guests from not parking around the neighborhoods. So I don't see a good solution there. And I feel that that's going to create a lot of congestion and parking situations in the adjacent streets for the residents. And I also too have concerns with the large kitchen, as a previous speaker mentioned. I don't feel that, I mean, earlier they mentioned that the food to the monks would be brought potluck from neighbors and other folks around the area. So why is a 900 square foot kitchen needed, which I can only imagine is for, again, hosting these large events, which I have major concerns about. So those are my issues why I have this giant kind of property going up in the neighborhood and kind of disrupting the peacefulness and the serenity of our streets around it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next I'm going to call out callers ending, the caller ending in 609. Hai Cheng, D. Castillo, and Philip Nguyen. Please be ready to speak when I unmute you. Ending in 609, please state your name for the record. You are unmuted. Please begin to speak.
Yeah, come on.
Caller ending in 609. Can you hear me? Okay, I'm going to move on to Hai. You are unmuted. Please unmute yourself and begin to speak.
Hi there, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good. My name is Hai Chain, and I live 2.5 miles away from the site. I've been here for 23 years now. Your temple is literally not in my backyard, but I object to designs requiring major excavation in our mature single-family neighborhoods. I ask that the underground garage be eliminated, and I ask that the site design and utilization be revisited to conform with the character of the R1 neighborhood. On the other hand, I really want to applaud the architects for their rendering of the beautiful landscaping. It's gorgeous. I like the wide sidewalks and the many flowering trees and the beautiful open gardens. I think you're on the right track with the landscaping, and I think that would be a huge improvement no matter what evergreen neighborhood you build in. But as for the general design, it's certainly grand and it creates a new landmark destination. And that there is the crux of the dispute. I'll submit some specific ideas for mitigation in the near future. But for tonight, please consider that an important next step is for the developer and adjoining property owners to meet privately. Despite all the prior meetings, I have no confidence that either side has carefully processed and understood the critical needs, the pain points, underlying reasons, and potential areas of compromise on the other side. So in this regard, I'm fortunate to have really wonderful neighbors. If I launched a backyard ADU project or business teaching bugle blowing out of my garage, I would definitely invite the neighbors over, share some wine, and talk it out, and they would do the same. So you should all meet in a more intimate forum, invite all the owners on the shared property lines.
Mark?
I know you're ready to sit down and talk in a quorum with 12 people max. So people should sit down and be ready to listen. So I hope you guys walk the talk and wanting to live in a peaceful and harmony way with the neighbors. Thank you.
D. Castillo, you are unmuted. Please unmute yourself and begin to speak.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Diana Castillo, and my family and I live on Pinot Court. We've been here 35 years. The proposed ramp to an underground parking garage would run next to our family home. My comments are essentially the same ones that I've provided on several occasions through different meetings about this project. So I disagree respectfully with the prior caller. I, as a neighbor, have been attending every meeting available to me and reaching out. We've even met with the developers' representatives. We have limited time this evening, so I'll focus on just a few of the comments. We welcome a religious assembly next door. The issue we have with the project include that we don't support the development of an underground parking garage. It was not incorporated into plans to respond to our or other neighbors' concerns. It was included to scale up the project. An underground parking garage is incompatible with and does not conform to our quote-unquote residential neighborhood general plan designated area. The form of development in our residential neighborhood is a mixture of buildings and parking at street level. Developing in this way will help make this project compatible. We do not support reducing the site's current multiple points of access down to just one. The project has 2 long frontages and multiple points of access from both Ruby and Norwood Avenues. Cutting down points of access to just one means that every trip to the site would run next to our home. This is not reasonable or equitable and would cause too many negative impacts on my family and our property. It would cause gridlock on Ruby Avenue, an avenue that, as you've heard, is an ongoing source of speeding and other hazards in the neighborhood. A new comment I wish to share is that without a specific explanation about how a PQP rezoning SUP would make this project more compatible with the neighborhood, instead of getting larger as it did through plan iterations submitted through the CUP process, my family cannot support the PQP and SUP application. We urge the developer to engage with neighbors in a meaningful way, scale down the project, and return to pursuing the CUP application. Thank you very much.
Okay, Philip, please unmute yourself and begin to speak. Philip, you are unmuted.
Yeah, hi. Yeah, this is Philip. I live 2 houses away from this project on sharing my side yard with Ruby. And again, a little bit about my background. I'm also a refugee, used to be a boat people coming from Vietnam myself, escaping communist brutality and injustice. Yeah, so I have lived here for around 10 years. I always been a San Jose resident. I used to live on the east side of San Jose. I myself a Buddhist. We for generation have been using Buddhism as our main philosophy and religion. I have been trying to go to a lot of the already existing temples here in San Jose, which a lot of them are, rezone, get their permit from the rezoning that the San Jose city has granted them. But to be honest, I haven't been very successful attending a lot of the existing temple here within the city. The greatest issue that we always have is even though they have sufficient planned parking space for their temples, but generally they're unable to address all of those needs from when they have like an event going on. So we end up, right, every time we go to a temple, we pretty much have to compete with the local traffic, compete with all of the local residents for parking, for traffic, and space. So for the last 10 years, I have been going to another temple like in Watsonview and in Gilroy.
Mark.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is, please look at the human and the realistic issue beyond just, dimension and build structure and material before you approve this project. Thank you.
Okay, Tom Paramo, please unmute yourself and begin to speak.
Hello. Hello, my name is Tom Paramo, and I'm a native San Josean. I've been living in this area for 65 years. As a community, we had hopes that working with the temple folks, we could help incorporate some ideas so that they could, build here. We've talked, and despite our concerns about the large footprint that it left in our R1 zone, it seems that the temple group has not implemented any of those ideas that we talked about. Doesn't seem like they're willing to work with us. So allowing this project to move forward, a project that carries a 100-car underground garage and 60 square feet of building on a 1.9-acre lot, this sets a precedent that has not been seen in San Jose or even in Northern California. And it sets a dangerous precedent that anything can be plopped down in any single residential area without any concern to the community. Our fear that this will be rubber stamped and allowed to proceed. We're asking that the city please help protect our neighborhood's integrity and have this group, who has some wealthy backers, Mr. Larson, who's a billionaire, with his friend Carl Gardino and his wife, PR company, pushing this through. We have a feeling that our concerns will not be listened to because there's a lot of powerful backers of this project. So again, we're asking the city, please protect the integrity of our community, of our residential area. Let the project proceed, but proceed with implementing the things that will make this project able to be incorporated in our neighborhood. Again, thank you for your time, and thank you.
Okay, next speakers I'm going to call out are, sorry about that, Mazin, R. Castillo, and Vu. Please be ready to unmute yourself when I call on you. So Mazin, you are unmuted. Please unmute yourself and begin to speak.
Yes, hi, my name is Mazin, and I live on the corner of Norwood and Ruby, which is near the project. And I have lived here for almost 30 years. And Evergreen is a wonderful community. We welcome the development of the property in a way that is compatible with our neighborhood. Unfortunately, the proposed project is not compatible. And my biggest concern is they want to rezone from R15 to PQP. And to me, that obviously points out that their plan does not fit into our current zoning. So that's why they're trying to rezone. So I do not support the developer application to rezone the property to PQP and go back to the CUP. And also I'm concerned with the underground parking garage. It is not compatible with our neighborhood. There's also another issue with the underground parking garage, which I mentioned in the first meeting to the developer, and they've never responded. The entrance is on Ruby, and you can only enter when you're heading from west to east. If you're going from east to west, it goes the other direction. You have 2 single lane. You will somehow have to make a U-turn and then go back to the entrance. And also, they say 4 events per year. So for 4 events, you should not need such a big parking lot or a community kitchen. You should be able to handle it outside. There should be no wedding. As wedding, there will definitely be more people than the neighborhood can handle. And also, traffic is a big issue. Again, why should we have to bear traffic congestion when we've been here so long? And the last thing is, you should ask yourself, what if it was going down in near your house? Would you approve it?
Okay, and next is R. Castillo. Please unmute yourself.
Good evening. My name is Ruben Castillo. The proposed project must be built at scale in a form that is compatible with the neighborhood. Our neighborhood has 1- and 2-story single-family homes. My family lives at Pin Oak Court, right next to the site. Our neighborhood is a low-density residential and is far away from places like downtown San Jose that allow underground parking garages to support high-density buildings. Homes, schools, religious buildings in our neighborhood all have service-level parking. It's the standard in Evergreen. Allowing an underground parking garage basically doubles the size of the project, making it incompatible with the scale and form of our neighborhood. This project should not unfairly burden my family's health and safety or our enjoyment in the value of our home, since the developer can build in a way that does not concentrate on diverse impacts on us. For example, the developer has proposed to have its only car entry and exit point next to my family's home. Their project should have driveways from Norwood and Ruby. We are in the suburbs. We don't have great public transportation options out here. Visitors to the site will be driving, not taking public transportation. Allowing the developer to close off driveways from Norwood Avenue means that all the negative impacts from vehicles, including commercial vehicles, like the cars stacking, waiting to enter and exit the underground parking garage, the noise, the pollution, etc., will unfairly fall on us. The developer can develop the site in a way that does not unfairly concentrate the impacts on my family. I'm urging planning staff to follow the general plan, reject the PQP application, require the developer to build a project to scale, and a form that complies with R1, R5 zoning, and that this is compatible with the neighborhood. Thank you.
Vu, you are unmuted. Please unmute yourself and begin to speak. Vu? Okay, I'm going to move to the next one. The next people I'm going to call out are Dan, Na Tran, G, Quang, and Damien. Please be ready to unmute yourself when I call on you. Dan, you are unmuted. Please unmute yourself. Begin to speak.
Hi there. My name is Dan Datar. I've been a resident on Ruby Court since 1996. And I and my family adamantly oppose this project in its entirety. Primarily because the scale and scope of this project is completely incompatible with our neighborhood. The very fact that there is planned special events, which I understand are both weddings as well as funerals, will cause congestion in my neighborhood, adversely impact the value of my home as well as my neighbors, and create a terribly chaotic situation. My real question is, why this lot. If you are wanting to build a religious establishment that will host weddings, funerals, and other special events, this is just not the appropriate spot for it. And I just don't understand at all why it would ever even be considered in the first place. I'll give back the rest of my time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, we have Na Tran. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. You are unmuted. Please begin to speak.
Hello?
Hi, we can hear you.
Yeah. So I'm Yatran. I'm live. Actually, I've lived in middle of the temple. So I don't know why they why I don't want they to build a temple next to my fan. They around me. So it affects a lot of the thing in my activity, my son, or every people in the house. And I would like to city reject the this project because before they approve the project, please think if the big temple like that next to your house, what you will thinking. So before you approve for this project, please consider it happened to your house, to next to your fan, please. It's so big and it will be a lot of noise, a lot of traffic because they will have a lot of activity in the temple. And this area is only the residential. It's not the commercial. It's not for like the temple, something like that. They can build a temple like in the commercial area, not in the residential area. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next, we have G. G, if you could state your name for the record and unmute yourself. You are unmuted.
Hi there. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
We can hear you.
Hello, G.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes. Now we can't hear you. I think you're cutting in and out.
Okay, G, I'm gonna go back to you. Next, I'm gonna go to Quang. Quang, go ahead and unmute yourself and begin to speak.
Hi, everybody. My name is Quang Phung. I've been a resident of San Jose since 1992, 1993. So it has been a long time in the east side of San Jose. One thing I like about the Evergreen area is the zoning and the conformity of the areas. And I understand the city, when they put zoning, they want keep the characteristic of the areas the same or uniformly among each other. So once a project or once a developer want to rezone it into a different zoning, then it create, different or create our characteristic of that area. So assume like if city approve rezoning for this development, the next one in that similar neighborhood would do the same thing, would request city to rezone it. And eventually that whole area can no longer be R1, R5 anymore. And you know that many speakers already against the rezoning. And I also state my objection to rezone the project to other than R1 and R5. So please consider that. Thank you.
Okay, next is Damien. Damien, you are unmuted. Please begin to speak.
Hi, my name is Damien Maker. I'm a homeowner at the corner of Ruby and Norwood. Like my fellow neighbors, I do not agree with the changes to the design to add underground parking. We all know that this is to give a false sense that the parking will accommodate the potential large crowds at this facility. We all know that there's going to be overflow of vehicles that will spill out into the surrounding neighborhoods and cause conflict to our peaceful neighborhood. My other biggest concern is the amount of traffic that will be required during construction. I used to be in the construction industry. I have managed projects with substructures such as the one proposed here. During excavation, there will be lines of trucks staged along the streets waiting to take loads of dirt out. This will create traffic congestion, noise pollution, not to mention the damage to the recently paved streets that the city has done. And as everyone in the community has noted, the potential increase in traffic, even after the project is completed, is going to have severe impacts. I live on the corner. I see and hear firsthand every day accidents, car honkings, cars running through these stop signs. Not to mention, I had a drunk driver crash through my front yard, which is why I ended up having to install security cameras to actually monitor the corner. And I actually have tons of footage of vehicles vehicles getting into car accidents. And I'm the one that actually goes out there, meeting all these people, making sure they're okay, showing them the footage, because everyone, of course, assumes, you know, they're the one that's right. And I'm the one that's showing them that here's the actual footage of who's wrong. I'm telling you, this is the size of this. I'm not against the temple itself. I think it's a great idea. I mean, it's peace, and love to have them and welcome into the community. But to the amount of traffic that this is going to create, it's going to be a huge impact into our community. Thank you.
Okay, the next 5 speakers I'm going to call out are Simi Valley Room Share, Tammy D, Matt, Shash, and Raul. Please be ready to unmute yourself when I call on you. Simi Valley Room Share, if you could state your name for the record, and go ahead and unmute yourself. You are unmuted.
Hi.
Say your name.
My name is B, and I am, my statement will be as follows. I believe that all communities have desires, rights, and feelings regarding its development. I believe this firmly, but also believe that communities and neighborhoods long established and designated to be a haven for family and not this type of facility should not be minimized or disrupted. I became a resident of the Evergreen area of San Jose nearly 33 years ago. I have witnessed growth, both large and small, over this period. Considered, along with my neighbors, the physical and emotional impact of an additional facility and ultimately embrace the designated locations within our community, I understand change and development. In this area, 2 large facilities were installed within the past 10 years, approximately 3 to 4 miles apart, in locations that accommodate large structured, highly active facilities for benefit of the community. To add another similar facility disrespects an already accommodated need, subjects residents to unfair intrusion, and challenges the original purpose of a family environment. Your strong desire to follow through despite neighborhood opposition to your project plans will change the subdued nature of the area, jeopardize safety, and establish ill will.
15-second mark.
For many. 10 seconds. I'm pretty much done. Thank you.
No, you're not.
That's pretty much what I wanted to say.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Tammy. Tammy, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hello?
Hi, yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Hi, my name's Tammy Denota, and I've lived in Evergreen my entire life, which I'm only willing to say is over 45 years. We bought our house here 21 years ago, closer to this specific street. And we've always lived in this house. These are single family neighborhoods. They're well established, which is why we bought our house in this neighborhood, for our kids to go to school in this neighborhood. Ruby already has grown in traffic as it is. It's not zoned to have this type of massive church or temple. And like someone said before, Evergreen is not opposed to temples and religious establishments of all different religions and cultures, but this is not the site for it. This is not appropriate. I did not know about this. I don't know how many residents did. It sounds like some did, but that's not appropriate. That's not an appropriate way to change the zoning and do underground parking. This is not downtown San Jose. This is not some industrial place. This is a residential community and close to the Green Line, which is the purpose of why we tend to live with more spread out structures as much as we possibly can. The older homes have more distance between them. The newer ones don't. We do not feel as a neighborhood that this is appropriate. If you want to build something that's a church with a lot of greenery, no one's opposed to that, but not having an underground structure. If you have more than 50 people at your house, I mean, at this kind of small church, there's no place to park. So just saying you want to build underground is not appropriate. That's not the way to go. I would say make it a smaller facility with the parking on site, but not more than 20 families at a time. That just seems outrageous in an established residential community. So I'm vehemently opposed to this, and I would do everything in my power to stop this at every level. So plan for this community opposition to build, and I would recommend that the Planning Commission stop this. Thank you.
Okay. Matt, you are unmuted. Please unmute yourself and begin to speak.
Yes, my name is Matt. Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Yeah, my name is Matt Millward. I live over on Sweetleaf Court, just behind the proposed project. I've been to many of the meetings, not all of them, but I did have some concerns. I mean, early on, to be honest, I am not against the project overall because it seems appropriate and conducive to a good neighborhood to have a religious facility nearby. What concerned me though was it appeared that early on the project was diverging in scope and becoming bigger than what seemed appropriate for the space. And so I think even in one of the first meetings I had raised that concern. It just appears that the number of structures and the number of spaces in the intended use didn't align well with the R15 zoning. And then when they went to the PCP zoning, I got even more concerned because it seems like it's diverging further. As I understand it, the structures can be taller now than originally intended. I don't know if that's going to be the actual direction that it goes, but they could. When the underground parking was added to accommodate more parking spaces, on the one hand, it seemed good, but then as I thought about it, I realized there's really no limit to the scope that could be accommodated with the new rezoning. And so, again, I don't disagree with the use of it for a temple, but just with the scope of it. It seems that a place with more area to spread out would be more appropriate for this type of activity. And again, I welcome a constructive dialogue with the developers. I hope they'll continue to do that, but I don't support the way it's currently envisioned. And I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Okay, next is Shash. Please unmute yourself and begin to speak.
Oh, hi, my name is Shash Srinivasa. I wanted to record my opposition to the underground parking structure. And I want to agree with other commenters who believe this will basically change the nature of houses in this whole community. And it will also set a precedent for other structures to be built, and it will cause a lot of discomfort to existing residents. Thank you. I yield my time. Thanks.
Thank you. Next, we have Raul. Raul, you are unmuted. Please begin to speak.
Hi, good evening, and thank you. I would like to thank the forum attendees. Would like to thank Councilmember Arenas. Would like to thank all of the community members and neighbors that have commented and given their recommendations and their feedback. I have lived in the Evergreen neighborhood for 14 years and would like to state for the record that I'm opposed to this project. I live right up the street just off of Norwood on Norcrest. And I want to echo what a lot of the other community members have already stated. And so I don't want to state them again, but I just want to state that I support those statements and that feedback. What I do want to talk about are options and precedent. The first one is options, and options are you can build this type of a facility in a location more conducive to the usability. There are many commercial locations nearby, not far. The Manila Shopping Center is half vacant, so it's a great place to go look and consider as an alternate location. The next one is precedent. If we decide that we can rezone this corner for this usage, what about the next corner or the house down the street or the next empty lot? I really don't want that in my neighborhood. This is a family-oriented residential neighborhood. It's a quiet suburb. This is not downtown. I don't want it to be downtown. I would like to keep the characteristics and look and feel and safety of this neighborhood and avoid all of the traffic mess and all of the disruptions to this neighborhood. Thank you very much.
Hi, sorry. Next, I'm going to be calling out Sasid Haran, caller ending in 5646. I'm going to call out Vu, T, Cole, and Gina. Please be ready to unmute yourself when I call your name. Sasid Haran, you are first. Sorry if I am butchering your name. Go ahead and unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Prashant Shashidharan. My home 3404 Norwood is right across the proposed project. Unfortunately, I cannot support this project as it is being proposed now, and I cannot support the rezoning proposal. My reasons are the following. Primarily, this project is too big and not compatible with the neighborhood. And as you all know, Norwood Avenue is a two-lane road, too narrow, and it's used by emergency services like fire services, ambulance, etc. So an entry from Norwood Avenue to this project, like for 300 to 600 people, will completely block this road. So please avoid any entries or exits from Norwood Avenue. And I'm also concerned about the noise and traffic this kind of huge project will bring to the neighborhood. And the maximum capacity of multiple hundreds of people is clearly not compatible with for any project right at the center of a completely residential single family neighborhood. Also, the construction of an underground parking would have a significant impact on the homes around that area, which were built 20 plus years ago. And also, I'm extremely concerned about the value of the properties. The value of the neighboring properties would certainly go down significantly. And I'm also concerned that the traffic would overflow to the neighboring streets. We have shared these concerns with the temple team multiple times, several times in the past. However, we still see the scale of the project going up again and again. So my request is to please scale down the project to make it compatible with the neighborhood, and please no rezoning. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Caller ending in 5646, please state your name for the record. You are unmuted. Please unmute yourself and begin to speak.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hi, good evening. I'm John Leyba. I'm a former planning commissioner and neighborhood leader in another part of San Jose. I grew up just 3 miles away in Alum Rock, also in a single family neighborhood. My dad's high school buddy lives on Rathman Drive, so the Ruby Norwood neighborhood is part of my old stomping grounds, a place we would ride our bikes when I was as old as my girls are now. I'm concerned about the precedent this sets for all neighborhoods in San Jose. I've been following this project for at least a year, like I followed other issues affecting neighborhoods, like the daycare proposal on Klein Road a few years ago. Probably my biggest concern is that this project has shifted from a conditional use permit to a rezoning to public quasi-public, which vastly expands the menu of uses allowed, or allowed with an amendment to the SUP. It's worth mentioning that I hold the planning staff in high regard, all the way up to Director Huey. I hope you all know that. But we haven't done planning, building, and code enforcement any favors lately. Our elected leaders who set budgets have under-resourced code enforcement and other mechanisms for enforcing permits, plans, and policies for over 10 years. Therefore, the only reasonable controls on the site must be hard controls, ideally in the zoning and design itself. The height limits, the square footage, massing, and shielding of buildings, the size of the garage, or surface parking capacity. I don't trust a special use permit on top of PQP zoning because SUPs and CUPs are hard to enforce, are rarely enforced, and are very easy to change by amendment. I hope that the architects and development consultants can reach a compromise with neighbors that preserves the Ruby Norwood neighborhood quality of life, fulfills the vision of the general plan, and achieves the spiritual goals of the religious community. Thank you for your time and for allowing me to comment.
Okay. Next, we have T. Cole. Please unmute yourself and begin.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Yes, my name's Todd Cole, and I am the landscape architect with Strata, who has designed the landscape for these structures. And I just wanted to remind everyone our goal initially was to create a series of buildings of worship in a contemplative garden setting that would maximize both interior and exterior use while minimizing surface parking to the extent that it would reduce reflectivity onto neighbors' homes from all the parked cars and to reduce heat gain from having a large parking lot on the surface. I just wanted to say I appreciate everyone's input, and I will work with our team to effectively reduce what we can and to come up with solutions that will be geared towards the neighborhood comments. That's really all I have to say. Thank you so much.
Okay, next is Gina. Gina, please unmute yourself and begin to speak.
Sure. Hi there. My name is Gina Kamaran. We've lived in Evergreen for about 8 years on the corner of Mitten and Norwood. I just want to say that I really appreciate, the developers being here and everybody who's working on the project being here. We've been following it for the few years that this project has been around. I think my concern is really around sort of the ballooning nature of this project. And if it's rezoned, it does go kind of directly against the 2040 plan for San Jose. And my fear is that as this project balloons, we will have no recourse if the zoning is changed. They'll be able to update their plans and we won't be able to do anything as a neighborhood. I feel like the developer hasn't really taken into account the way neighbors feel about this project and about the impact it has on us and our homes and our families. And what I would really like to see is that commitment to the community and to our neighborhoods to make sure that we're working together on this. I think having a temple, having the green plan that is pictured would be wonderful, but it just doesn't feel like the developer is listening to us. I share the concerns of many of the other people with the underground parking. We are on a hillside, and it would be very interesting to see what the environmental impact is of that. Also, the industrial kitchen seems incredibly large, and also the noise and the noise levels and the amount of cars and people in the neighborhood just doesn't fit with the surrounding area. And I hope the developers will take that into account into their planning. I know this is a passion project of some of the people on the project, but they do have to understand that this is a neighborhood, and we live here too. and we need them to understand that. Thanks. That's all.
Thank you. Next, we have Robert Reese, Fong, and I believe that's it for now. Just a second. Okay, Robert, you are unmuted. Please unmute yourself and begin to speak.
Hello, everyone. And I want to thank the Khmer Krom members for engaging with the community for almost 2 years now. Thank you, thank you. The San Jose General Plan residential neighborhood designation allows new private gathering uses and their buildings when, one, the design preserves the existing character of the neighborhood. 2, the design closely conforms to the prevailing existing neighborhood character as defined by density, lot size and shape, massing, and neighborhood form and pattern. 3, the design improves and/or enhances existing neighborhood conditions by completing the existing neighborhood pattern and bringing infill properties into general conformance with the quality and character of the surrounding neighborhood. The non-growth area in which the Ruby Norwood site is located has additional general plan policies to ensure that new infill developments are right-sized and designed compatible with the existing neighborhood. The planning department provided a guidance to the prior property owner that planning would not support a rezoning of this property to R18 or other more intense zoning districts, as it would not conform to the prevailing neighborhood pattern. This is a matter of public record. In the planning department's 40-day guidance letter to the Khmer Krom, planning repeatedly requests that the plan set be revised to be compatible to the existing neighborhood. The proposed underground parking area does not meet the requirements of the residential neighborhood general plan designation. The underground parking functions to increase the massing and the size of the building area in a manner consistent with the compatibility goals of the residential neighborhood designation. It also increases the intensity of use beyond the designation. A right-sized temple similar to Grace Church and with
Okay, so next we have Fong. Please unmute yourself and begin to speak.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, thank you everyone for coming for your input. My name is Fong Thatch, and I am a member of the Buddhist temple. And we are the people that are pretty much the American Indian in Vietnam. We no longer have a country. Just to let everyone know that we are here not to interrupt anybody living. We are come to a holy place. So remind you that we are not building a commercial place nor a club, the way everyone was talking about, like we're building something that is going to interrupt the neighborhood. If anything, we will bring the peace, more peace, and the beauty of our Buddhist temple to the neighborhood. And secondly, the reason we chose the location, because a lot of elderly that are now, they have no place to live. The temple is the only place that they come that will bring the peace to their, that what reminding that homes is all about. That the reason we picked the location, because that everyone that are living is nearby that are older, that cannot drive. They have to use their either grandchildren or their kids to drive them. And again, please think about it. It's a holy place. It's not commercial, or we don't do wedding. I don't know where you're getting the wedding from, or funeral. So please think about we're not a commercial place. We're a holy place. We're coming. We're basically just have a peaceful place to go to. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. The next callers, our next speakers that I'm going to be calling out, caller ending in 8051, and Nancy Sa Dul Sun and Vicky and Jerry. Please be ready to unmute yourself when I call on you. Caller 8051, you are first. Go ahead and unmute yourself and begin to speak.
Hi, my name is Morley. I live in the Evergreen neighborhood. Of course, like Evergreen neighborhood, we have mosques, gurudwaras, churches. So Buddhist temple would be a great addition. So we welcome them. But only concern is the footprint and the current structure, current plan is not compatible to the neighborhood. One is underground parking. Second is the size of the buildings. Third is the intensity of use which they are proposing. That is in terms of having a 600 people capacity. Even though they say it's 300 or 350, that's a soft control. It's difficult to enforce, difficult to monitor. So I request the Temple Foundation to work with the neighbors so that way we can come up with a project that works for everybody, right? That is one option. Second option is, given Mr. Larson is deep-pocketed as pretty much, I mean, like kind of can do a bigger project in a nearby site, right? So like say within a mile radius or 2 mile radius, there are plots which are 15 acres, 20 acres at fraction of the, or like say half the price. So if he really wants to build a legacy and like kind of, and build for next, not a temple of this size, he can build twice, thrice in a property like that, just like what Gurudwara has done. So I'd request the Temple Foundation to work with the neighbors to build a right size the project and build it on this side, or definitely, and we'd appreciate if they want to build something like this, they can definitely look for another alternative side. Thank you very much. I yield my time.
Thank you. And next we have Nancy. You are unmuted. Please unmute yourself and begin to speak. Nancy, you are unmuted.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Hi, my name is Nancy, and I'm not living far away from the projects in Evergreen as well. And when the Indian mosque start to build, a lot of people rejects the same thing what we're trying to do here. I'm just a Khmer Krom, one of the Khmer Krom, it's community members, and also we are very religious in terms of the little small minority groups that exist in Vietnam. It's called Khmer Krom. And we are being rejected from different temples because we are Khmer, but we were born in Vietnam. So our native language, Khmer, but Khmer that born and raised in Vietnam are totally different from the Khmer in real Cambodia. So we have that problem. So we are so happy that this project started, and we so blessed. And what we're trying to support this project is not just to build our religions, but it's about our ancestors, about our cultures, the values of being these particular ethnic group is a little small minority, but we would like to stay focused and put because of the future for our children. So the temple that they're planning to build, it's not really like what they think is commercialized, like what you think about. It's just a place for chanting, for prayer.
Next we have Sa Dol Sun. Please unmute yourself and begin to speak.
Hi, good evening. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, my friends, and all participants, Your Excellencies. I support the temple being proposed. I am student sons of Khmer Kampuchea Krom Buddhist monk from southern parts of Vietnam. a place where most Khmer Kampuche Krom people follow Theravada Buddhism. This is different from Mahayana Buddhism that is practiced in the temples in the area. I have been living at 66 Sunset Court. Our temple is humble and small. We do our best to serve our followers, but it was not built for us. The temple here will allow us to create space that will be peaceful and will support our Buddhist teaching for future generations. I work together with Khmer Kampuche Krom communities to search for peace by practicing the essential teachings of the Lord Buddha, which is to cultivate complete and wholesome actions by avoiding from killing living beings, stealing, and misconduct, to cultivate wholesome verbal actions by avoiding from false speech, malicious speech, hard speech, gossip, and to purify one's mind by practicing insight meditations, and to cultivate loving kindness instead of hatred to all beings. In Dhammapata verse 183 mentioned, abstention from all evil, cultivations of the wholesome, purifications of the heart. This is the essential teachings of all Buddha. When a person trains himself well in the moral precept and purify his mind by insight meditation, he is said to be able to reach the real happiness and peaceful state of his mind. The Lord Buddha said in verse 2 and 3, Nati Santi Parang Sokhang, no higher bliss than Nibbana peace. One is able to reach Nibbana because there is no real peaceful place in external world unless one eradicates all defilements, craving, hatred, envy, etc. So according to the teachings of
Sorry, you're out of time. We have a few more speakers left. Vu, I believe, did not get to speak due to some technical difficulties, so I'm calling on you. And phone number ending in 8010. Please be ready to speak when I call on you. Vu, you are unmuted. Please begin to speak.
Hello?
Hi, we can hear you.
Okay, good. So, hi, my name is Vudon. I live right behind of the project. So, first of all, we completely do not support that project because, first of all, this zone is R15. That's residential. So, this project is kind of quite big. It doesn't fit in on that zone. The second thing, that area is kind of like a quiet area for residential, and that project bring up the commercial, and then the commercial zoning. So that means bring a lot of people can get in at a party, at the event. So eventually, even they have the capacity like 400 or maybe 200 people at one time. But I don't believe it. It can double up like 400, 500 at least. Even if we get in the room, just capacity and 40 people, but the room can fit in at least 100 people. So I believe it. I do not believe what they say on the project because I'm working for the architecture side too. I know when they apply for conditional use permit, and when they pass it, and then when they pass it, that means when you let the cow go out of the barn, they never go back. So once again, most people living in this area again do not support that project. That's all we can show. So we hope the city planning department or city communities just stop that project at all. Like we need to reserve for quiet area for residents of R15, not zoning for the commercial side. Thank you.
Okay, caller ending in 8010. Please unmute yourself and begin to speak. Please state your name for the record as well. Caller ending in 80810.
Yeah, good evening. My name is Silverson, and I live on Page Mill Drive, San Jose, California. I have been living in San Jose for over 35 years. I support this project because it's suitable for the neighborhood. In addition, the Khmer Kampuchea Krom community is very small, and we are very fortunate to have built this temple to preserve our history and culture for the next generation. Thank you for having us. Yeah, that's all.
Okay, thank you. So it seems like we've gone through everybody once. So at this point, I'll go ahead and pass it on to the applicant if they can summarize their responses to the comments that we heard. I'll go ahead and unmute Andrew Mann, Jennifer, and then go ahead and let me know if you need anybody else. Need me to unmute anybody else to speak on your team. So,
Could you unmute Leslie Gordino?
yes, let me go ahead and unmute her. I actually don't see her. Oh, I see her. There we go. Okay. Leslie, you are unmuted.
Great, thank you. We wanted to just take a moment to thank everyone for speaking tonight and to really to take the time to share your specific thoughts and ideas with us. We appreciate it very much. And please know that we are all taking extensive notes. We took notes on the comments that folks made about the key areas of concern, the traffic and the size issues, the parking, all of the issues that were raised tonight. We will be working hard to address many of these concerns that you raised, and we look forward to working together with the community throughout the next steps in this process. And this is the first community meeting. There will be more opportunities for comment through the community process, through the public hearing process, as well as through the City Council. So we look forward to working with everyone to produce a project that we are all proud and happy with. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And apologies if you didn't get a chance to speak. There still are other opportunities to provide comments. You can go ahead and email me those comments. We will also be having another community meeting for this project. So this isn't your only opportunity to provide comments. So with that, we'll go ahead and turn it back to staff so we can have some responses to the comments that we heard tonight. So let's see. So one of the main ones we heard was traffic. So we'll go ahead and get started with the Public Works Department so they can provide responses.
Hi, my name is Christy. I represent Public Works Traffic Transportation Team. So the traffic analysis is still under review, but once that's been approved, it will be available for circulation alongside all of the other documents. I believe there was a comment about traffic count data. The count data was taken in September of 2019 before COVID taken place. So those count data are pretty up to date and the best that we have. Were there other comments? Sorry, I'm taking notes real quick. As far as, I think there was a comment about pedestrian safety regards to the proposed driveway access with, as the community had presented with 2 driveway accesses to consider. The city does try to limit the amount of driveway cuts, primarily because that poses more conflicts with pedestrian and bicyclists. So that is something that we would have to consider when looking into those options. There are potential plan line looking at potential roundabout options for the Ruby Avenue and Norwood intersection, which would hopefully address some of the community's concerns with the conflicts that are happening there and safety issues. So with that, again, the traffic analysis will be available once it's approved with the environmental documents. So that will be available for the public to review once that is all done.
Thank you. And at this time, I'll go ahead and pass it on to environmental if they wanted to address the comments that we received about noise.
Right, so this is Ty again. So in addition to the traffic concern that Chrissy already spoke about regarding the study there, like I've said in the beginning, and I'll say this again, and we don't have this report yet, but a noise report and a noise analysis will be part of the initial study to study both construction and both the operation. As the project is proposing. I heard a lot of concern about special events. So with that, I'll definitely look into the noise report to also consider those special events as part of the analysis. With that, to reiterate what Chrissy has said, all the technical reports for the environmental document will be part of the initial study. And once that is completed and have been reviewed by staff, it will be available also for the public to review and provide comments at that time as well. So if you have already reached out to Michelle or have not reached out to Michelle or myself, please do so we can add you onto the list of interested parties. So when that document is available, we will pass it on to you and we'll send you an email to notify you that it's available online for you to view and review. Passing it back to you, Michelle.
Thank you. John was going to provide a few comments.
Hi, thank you everybody for staying on. Pretty long meeting, and I'm glad you guys are taking your time out of your busy schedule to hear about the project. I want to explain this in an iterative process. It's really about the next iteration of the plan sets that will be available to the staff as well as the public to see if there are any responses from the applicant. They think they've heard a lot of your comments today as well as staff. So it's really about moving on to the next step to see what kind of process and how the project will evolve. I think a lot of your feedback here are warranted into consideration as well as good feedback for consideration on all the parties' behalf. Just wanted to reiterate, I think there was one point that says that staff would never support intensity on this site. I wanted to emphasize the context of that statement was specifically for a residential project that wanted to be built beyond the density that a residential project could be built. Since this is a public quasi-public, not considered a non-residential use, the statement about intensity was taken out of context. However, this does not necessarily mean that the issues of neighborhood compatibility, scales, and other issues are still not going to be part of the project. I just want to be known that saying absolutely no more intensity was not necessarily correct. But I think we are willing and staff is waiting to see the next reiterations of the project to see where the project has evolved to, and so that we can check for conformance to our policy as well as to see if there's any feedback incorporations from the public comments as well.
Thank you. With that, so if you would like to get added on to an email list in which we will notify you when resubmittals are received, we'll let you know when they are posted on the website for projects of high interest. Please send me an email and I will add you to that list. If you've sent me previous emails, please send me a separate email specifically asking to get added on that list so I don't miss you in that list. And just as it was mentioned earlier, this is not your final opportunity to provide comments. You can still continue to send me emails. There is going to be a second community meeting for this project. So if you received a notice in the mail for this project, you will be receiving a separate notice in the mail for that second community meeting. And then once the project is ready for a hearing, if you're not within that 1,000-foot radius, the meeting dates will be posted on the Project of High Interest webpage. So feel free to check on that page. We will be uploading the documents that are submitted by the applicant for resubmittals for the special use permit. And then we will be posting those dates on that website as well. And so that concludes the meeting for tonight. Thank you everyone for joining and providing your feedback. When you exit this meeting, you are going to get a survey asking you questions about our virtual community meeting process. So please fill that out if you would like to see or have any comments about this virtual community meeting format. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate your time, and I hope you have a great night. Thank you.
Michelle?
Yes.
I'm sorry, Michelle, this is Rosalind. Sorry for interrupting, but again, I just really want to thank all of the participants. We had well over 100 people participating in the meeting tonight. So we just thank you for your time and your interest and your comments. And you obviously have given city staff as well as the applicant many things to think about, and we're going to be working with the applicant to see how we can incorporate some of these things into the project design. So again, thank you for your participation. I know that many of you have been including me on emails to Michelle, and again, thank you for participation. And I do want to acknowledge Michelle's work. She's been doing a great job responding to the many inquiries and emails, and she's super responsive. I know because I've been copied on a lot of that correspondence. So just a big shout out to Michelle and really the entire planning team, as well as our partners in Public Works. And we have folks in other departments, transportation, others that also are a part of the team. So thank you all. Thank you to the applicant team, and we look forward to continuing working with you.
Thank you.
Have a great night.